Hello everyone, my name is Thomas, and today I'm here to teach you how to play the song Flatlands by the Aristocrats. The song is played at a tempo of 64 beats per minute, and is played in standard tuning. Let's kick things off with the intro section of the song. This first lick, which I'll call lick A, begins by playing the open A string. You let the A ring out for one beat, and then you play the 4th fret of the G string, and hammer onto the 5th. You then play the 3rd fret of the high E string. Then you play the 5th fret of the G string and pull off to the 4th. You play the 3rd fret of the high E string again. And then you play the 4th fret of the G string and hammer onto the 5th. Once again you play the 3rd fret of the high E string. And then you play the 5th fret of the G string and then the 2nd. It is not a pull-off. So altogether it sounds like this. You play lick A a total of 3 times, and then you move on to a second lick, which sounds like this. You start by playing the A string again. You then play the 4th fret of the G string and hammer onto the 5th. And then you play the 3rd fret of the high E string. Then you play the 5th fret of the G string and slide up to the 7th. You then play the 5th fret of the high E string. Then play the 7th fret of the G string again. And slide down to the 5th. You then play the 3rd fret of the high E string again. And finish by playing the 5th fret of the G string and the 2nd fret. So together, it sounds like this. For the next part of the intro, we repeat lick A 3 times, and then follow it with this lick that I'm about to teach you. We start by playing the open A string again, and this time instead of letting it ring out for a whole beat, you let it ring out for only half a beat. You then play the 4th fret of the G string and hammer onto the 5th. Then play the 3rd fret of the high E string. Then play the 5th fret of the G string and pull off to the 4th. Play the 3rd fret of the high E string again. And then play the 4th fret of the G string and slide up to the 7th. Play the 5th fret of the high E string. And then play the 7th fret of the G string again and slide back down to the 5th. Play the 3rd fret of the high E string. And and then we finish by playing the 5th fret of the G string and the 2nd fret. So all together that sounds like this. And with that, we reach the end of the intro section. So combining the two parts that we've gone through just now, it sounds to get something like this. Now we move on to the main melody of the song. For the most part, the main melody consists of playing 2 notes simultaneously as such. It's not exactly a chord, but you still need to play at least 2 notes simultaneously. So there are 2 approaches that I think are best for this situation. You can pick out both notes with the pick, or you can play the first note with the pick and sort of pick the second note with a free finger on your right hand or picking hand. So this will sound something like this. Of the 2 options, I think that the finger picking option will give you a more accurate sound, but don't let me dictate how you play or what decision you make. So anyway, let's begin with the notes. The first chord you play, or interval you play, is starts on the D string. You play the 2nd fret of the D string and the 5th fret of the G string. Then you have 2 options. There's a stretcher option, which involves moving to the 5th fret of the D string and playing also the 9th fret of the G string. This is a little bit stretchy, as I've said. So there's a second option of playing keeping the 5th fret of the D string, but playing the 5th fret of the B string as well. Both ways are fine. Just depends on your preference for if you're willing to stretch that far. Moving on, we move to the 7th fret of the D string, and we also play the 7th fret of the G string. So far we have after that, you play the 9th fret of the G string and the 12th fret of the B string. Then you slide down and play the 5th fret of the G string and the 8th fret of the B string. Then you play, keeping your finger on the 5th fret of the G string, you bar the 5th fret and you play the 5th fret on both the G string and the B string. Then you play the 4th fret of the G string and the 3rd fret of the B string. Then you go back and play the 5th fret of both the G and B string. And then you go to the D string, play the 4th fret and the 5th fret of the G string. So far we have Now for this part, it is important to finger this last set of notes properly. You want to have your middle finger on the D string and your ring finger on the G string, because the next part requires that you play the 3rd fret of the B string as well as the 5th fret of the B string. So you want to keep your index and your pinky open to play these notes. And it goes like this. You play the 4th fret of the B string and the 5th fret of the G string as such, and you play the B string like this. So together you go. One more time. So you play the 4th fret of the D string and the 5th fret of the G string twice, in that order, and then you play the B string like this. And then finally you end with a chord. You go to the 3rd fret of the D string, you leave the G string open, and you hold down the B string at the 1st fret, and you just play the D, G, and B strings as follows. So all together, it will sound like this.